Hello and welcome to Not Top Gear. In the late 1960s, the state of California was responsible for 20% of the sales of every Ford Mustang and Ford Thunderbird ever manufactured in the United States of America. Now, because of this, the dealers in California sort of got together, had some clout with Ford, and said, you know what, we want a special version of the Mustang just for our state, for it to be sold in our state and nationwide, but we want it to be an homage to California. A bunch of things happened after that, and long story short, you had the very first Ford Mustang California Special created, and it was based on a lesser-known Shelby GT500 that was built in 1967 called Little Red. Now, because it was based on that, that's where the color scheme for the iconic California Special came, and it was red and black. So back then, the California Special had hood scoops and side scoops and the bonnet rings and a whole bunch of other stuff. But fast forward many years to the future, and today we're sitting in the 2016 California Special. Now, for all intents and purposes, this car is a V8 Mustang convertible. So it's got a soft top roof, which comes off in about 10 seconds or so, and it's essentially the V8 Mustang. The difference is the trim, outside and inside. Now, on the outside, it has black hood scoops that act both as indicators for me to see which side I'm indicating, and hood scoops in general. It's got black spoilers. It's got 19-inch alloy wheels. It's got badges on both the outside and inside that say Mustang California Special, as opposed to the previous badges that said 50 years. On the inside, you're now sitting in leather seats that have suede right smack in the middle of them. So what it kind of does is sort of grips you better. You don't jostle around as much as you would in leather. And the stitching is actually two-toned with black and red. So it's actually quite simple. There are not many differences between this and, for example, the EcoBoost Mustang that I reviewed sometime last year. The big difference obviously being that this is the V8, which is the crux of this car. The question is, right, a lot of people have asked, why bother with the V8 when the EcoBoost is such a great engine, such a great car? And the answer is very simple. It's this. It's the roar, the iconic roar I should say, of the V8 just a few feet in front of you, and it's one of the greatest sounds ever. The EcoBoost sounds great. You can hear the sound of the turbo spooling, and it's a great little sound that is actually manufactured. I personally drive a Focus ST, so I know that sound is not real. It's being fed to me, and it's fake, but it's a great sound. But it's nothing, and will never ever be anything like the sound of the iconic V8 in an iconic Mustang. And just listen to that. It's just beautiful. It's vicious. It's live. It's great. It's stuff you want to hear all day. This is the kind of car you can drive without necessarily having or needing music or anything in the background. You can just, if you're an enthusiast like I am, you're more than happy just to hear the sort of the burbling of the engine, the gurgling of the engine, not the burbling, that's the wrong word. The gurgling of the V8, it's a great sound. And yes, this is a heavier car than the EcoBoost. It's about I think 100 odd kilograms heavier than the EcoBoost engine, and it's all in the front, which means you feel it when you go into turns. You have to brake a bit harder, when you go into a turn. When you turn in, you can feel the front end is heavier than the back end. But all of those things sort of, you can learn to live with those things, because this is still a fantastic car. I mean, for the first time ever, from 2015 onwards, you're driving a Mustang with independent rear suspension. So, what's not to love? So we're gonna try and see what happens if you drop the top, and I want to see if you can actually hear the engine. So you can see it doesn't take long. It drops the windows. There we go. It's done. The whole process takes about like 8 to 10 seconds, and we're done. So now, because the top is on, you can hear the rumble a whole lot more when you're driving normally at low speeds. I mean, I'm doing 60 kilometers an hour, which is pretty normal on a highway. And then you press it down, and you hear it. I'm not sure if you heard anything over the wind, but if you were sitting where I was sitting, that was a glorious soundtrack to have. It is undeniable that the biggest advantage of having a drop-top V8 is the rumble of the V8. That's automotive. This is an iconic car. The Mustang is an iconic car to begin with. Over and above that, the California Special is an homage or a hat tip to the state where the most Mustangs were sold to begin with. It was based on a Shelby GT 500, which is, everybody knows that car. There's so many things about this car that are, I want to say, that have a heritage, or that have a lineage, rather. And there's a sense of pride in driving one and owning one, being able to commandeer one in my case. So, yeah, I mean, the faults of this car are superfluous, right? There are things like, it's not that practical. You can't actually fit 2 grown people in the back unless they have no legs. Or you can fit children if you have them, but if you own this car, you probably don't have children. The boot isn't easy to access because it's large, but it's got a small mouth, which means you can't really fit large bags in there. And cabin noise is actually quite loud because this is the drop-top convertible. And it's a heavy car. The front, like I said earlier, this is about 100 kilograms heavier than the EcoBoost. Because this is a drop-top, it's even more so. And all the weight's in the front, so there are things you need to consider there as well. But all of that will pale into comparison the moment you actually drop the top and put your foot down. Right, speed bump. Don't put your feet down. Don't put your foot down right in front of the speed bump. There. Now we can do it. Think about this. The V8, not specific to the Mustang, the V8 is one of the most, the word I'm looking for is capable. One of the most capable engine blocks ever made. And I say that because even new cars, like the ones that Koenigsegg makes, have V8s. And obviously, sure, they're supercharged or turbocharged, but they're still V8s. They're that durable. Like this engine block, the V8, could take a beating and a half and still get up and go to work the next day. So, I mean, I said, and people have argued that you don't need the V8 anymore because of the EcoBoost, and I'll say to them that the EcoBoost replaces, for all intents and purposes, the drive performance, but it will never replace the drive experience of a V8.